Here's what's coming into view on Elevating Denver.
It's going to be there forever, so it'll be in the fabric of Denver forever, and that's what I think about is the next 7 generations of Denverites. Not just me, my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. How can I make sure that the part of Denver that I love and value, culturally value, is still part of that fabric 7 generations from now?
The required public hearing for Council Bill 536 is open. May we have the staff report?
The application and public hearing before you today is the designation of La Raza Park as a local historic cultural district.
Recently at City Council, La Raza Park, which is located in Northwest Denver, was designated as a cultural historic district. And this means that it is a local landmark that is recognized for its importance to Denver's Latino and Chicano communities. We also recognize that you can't designate what you don't know exists. So the things that weren't in our landmarks also weren't in our history books. So we launched a project called Denver in Context that is a series that will document the history of different communities across Denver. We started with Denver's Latino Chicano community, and last year we produced a document called Nuestras Historias. In that document, La Raza Park was identified as a site being particularly important to the community, both historically and culturally. After the document came out, Councilwoman Sandoval approached Community Planning and Development and Parks and Recreation about doing a designation of La Raza Park on behalf of the community.
As we started working on the application, we came into some hurdles. In mainstream media, there's not good representation of what happened at this park. There's not good representation of the Chicano movement. We were agitators. There was blatant discrimination. And so I had to come up with a new idea of how are we going to designate this park without going to our traditional mainstream media sources when you do a historic designation. And so I asked Community Planning and Development if we could do oral tradition, like in the Latino community and a lot of communities of color. You share your traditions and stories down from one generation to another.
La Raza Park is also a window into the larger history of the city of Denver. The significance of La Raza Park during the Chicano movement in the 60s and 70s and even 80s, when it was a time during Denver's history, there was a lot of structural racism that prevented Chicanos or Mexican Americans from accessing some of those city parks and swimming pools and other accommodations. So La Raza Park has become a symbol of Chicano identity and a very important place for the neighborhood of Northwest Denver.
The designation of a cultural district is a chance for Denver and the surrounding community to really uplift and honor the people who have made Denver the place it is today. So when we talk about cultural districts, we often are talking about underrepresented communities, but who still have a really important part of Denver's history, and we're shining a light on their stories, their history, and the things that make them really unique in Denver.
Community involvement and activism in asserting our own stories is absolutely vital, because our stories are not written in the history books. They're not written in the landscape the way other stories have been. And so they've been suppressed, they've been, pushed to the side, they've been marginalized. And so that's the only way we're going to bring these stories forward. It will take much more than one context study to tell those stories, but it becomes our responsibility as a community to keep those stories alive, because we can't count on people coming to us to ask us for our stories. So this community activism and especially the support that we get from our Latino and Latino leaders is absolutely vital to telling a true history of Denver.
So it's a labor of love. That's what I called it. It's not an easy process. For me, what I got out of it was being able to elevate the stories of those who have been disenfranchised and sometimes forgotten.
As I'm working on these, bringing my stories, my community stories that I grew up on with, that I know, into these chambers, into these historic halls, where 97% of historic designations are Anglo-driven, not culturally driven. And I will do my best to continue to change that and do my very best to continue to bring culturally relevant historic designations forward. So I humbly ask my colleagues to vote to support this historic cultural district, and as we say in the North Side and throughout the Chicano movement, que viva la raza.
Sandoval.
Aye.
Madam President.
Aye. Madam Secretary, close the voting and announce the results.
11 ayes.
11 ayes. Council Bill 23-0536 has been adopted. Congratulations.
Stay elevated by subscribing to the city's YouTube page for these stories and more. And stay tuned to our social media channels for more content. Don't miss our new episodes of Elevating Denver, premiering each month. Thanks for watching, Denver.